Do young
Do
moms
young
now
moms
deal
deal
with
with?
guilt on like a daily basis? I mean, it's
Of
a
For
course.
sure. Why
Yeah.
not?
big part of your.
I feel
I
like, especially if you have like a newborn and then you have like an older kid,
Mhm,
I feel like it's
mhm,
so hard not to feel guilty because, you're
mm.
strapped to your newborn, but like your older kid, you
To
know that,
meet. Mhm.
especially if they're young, right? You know that you have to
Yeah.
be there for them, but you just really can't in the same ways that you used to.
No, you're
Mhm.
also guilty because you gave your first child
Ah, yeah.
So
like high class,
Yeah.
yeah,
everything,
attention, everything.
everything
Yeah.
was perfect for that first child. And with
Mhm.
the second
Mhm.
child, I know moms begin to feel
Yeah.
guilty, like, oh, the second child's not going to get the best, or that first child's going to get neglected. And there's that guilt, like you're comparing even your
Mm.
own kids of what they
Mm,
get.
That's
And
right.
like it's I think it's also like how social media is a huge
mhm,
part of how moms get their information.
mm.
And even though they know social media is projecting like,
The
false,
best.
yeah, the best. And it's also like not a true picture of what's
Hmm.
happening in the home. They're just giving you like a picture perfect moment. But I think that it feeds into the struggle of ideas. And when you feel like you can't even accomplish one of those things, you're like, what's wrong with
Mm,
me? And
mm.
I do know, like, because of even just like research, an abundance of like resources, like moms will just want to find that best way to serve
Mm,
their kids. And
Mm.
I think that can sometimes be an idol in itself. Like,
mm,
Yeah.
what is God asking us to do? Like,
Right.
when should we give them the best and when can we give them just like the basics? Right.
mm.
Well,
So,
the thing is, what is considered to be the
The
best?
best. Yeah.
That's
That's right.
that's subjective as well, and
Mm.
yeah.
that's why I gave that food example. I
Yeah.
grew
Correct.
up on mac and cheese boxes, everything that you would buy, those canned tunas. And now, like, nobody would want to feed their kids those things. Anything that you find on the shelf of a
Mm.
grocery, it has to be like fresh. It has to have
Organic.
organic, no sugar. And
Grown
I'm
from your
like,
own
That's right.
backyard.
On the skid juice. That's right. No sugar. That's good.
yeah,
Yeah. That's
I
true. What's
wonder
the
if
best?
people in like not so fortunate countries if they also experience mom guilt. Or like did people in ancient times experience mom guilt or were they just happy that their kids survived past the age of
yeah,
5? Like
I
is this like
agree.
a
Yeah.
Mm.
first
Mhm.
world problem sort
Oh,
of
yeah,
thing?
for sure. For sure.
Because we have like an
Yeah.
overabundance and we
We
expect
do.
life to go
Yeah.
like a certain trajectory that
Mm.
we experience this guilt. Like I feel like in the past, if your child didn't get sick and was healthy and
To
you were
consider.
thankful, right? I don't
Mhm.
know.
We also
Even
had more than like one kid. They had tons of kids
yeah.
to tend
Well,
to.
some like very
Yeah.
very well-to-do family, they even have like nanny for each individual child.
Mm,
So the mom never had to lay hands on the child,
mm,
either,
that's
changing
true.
diaper or feeding. I was like, well, then you're missing out on all your children's growth, right? It's like, yeah, but they didn't seem to mind. Yeah, but you're right, though,
So
Mel.
it's
It's
like
like that.
also like a cultural thing.
Yeah, the cultural
Well,
thing too.
Americans have a very high standard of living too. That doesn't
Mm,
help our situation.
I would tend to think that mom guilt is universal
Yeah,
because
Mhm.
in some
we
ways.
want the best, no matter who you are, what economic
Mm,
level.
mm,
it's
Your
true.
kids, you want the best, all you can give to them, even if it's like that the best piece of meat or whatever.
mm,
Yeah,
And
yeah. Hmm.
and you always feel like you want to present them, like I said earlier, like they
Hmm.
reflect you,
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm,
universal experience that
Yeah.
your kids
Hmm.
reflect who you are. So there's still, I
Mm,
think, if there's, I think
a
they
different form.
different form.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Or they don't want to, or the mom doesn't want the children to reflect her weakness. Like
Yeah.
Mm,
something that I know this mom that she was illiterate, and so she was pushing her kids really hard to
mm,
be able to be a good reader, excellent
mhm,
readers, be able
Yeah.
to
mm,
Yeah.
comprehend everything. She would bring them
mm,
to the library every single day, check out new books and have them memorize vocabularies, and she would tell them, don't become like your mom who only had like
mm,
third grade education, like she couldn't read, she couldn't write. So yeah, something like that. It's just like they don't want the kids to reflect the negativity of
Yeah,
of them what they have.
whatever they experience, they're gonna give
Yeah.
their kid what they lack.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for you young moms that you say you deal with guilt on a daily basis, what would help you? I mean, not to relieve your guilt, but like we said, guilt is kind of a good thing because it points to our sin. But I mean, is what would help encourage you? Yeah, I mean, like you said, you don't want it to say, "Yeah, you can do it." You know, you don't want that kind of. What would help you?
Well, I feel like forums like moms group help because you can see other moms sharing, their weaknesses and you can identify with them. And, it's like, oh, you struggle like that. Like I totally struggle like that, and just knowing that you're not alone in those struggles and knowing like how to handle them, even though you might mentally know how to handle them, just hearing someone else, talk, like hearing Leslie talk about how she tells her kids, man, like I asked them to pray for me, like a simple reminder like that. Maybe you know that in your head, but you haven't practiced that in a long time. I think just being in community helps you to grow past the guilt or to have that guilt turn into fruit.
Yeah, because I think the temptation when you're struggling is Satan wants you to feel alone in it. And who's really going to be the first one to put their struggle out there? Everyone's scared to do it because of pride. So like the first person to admit the struggle, and I think it models, God's grace, that there is permission to say, I'm weak and I need God's power. And I have done all these terrible things as a mom. And so I think that community, like being surrounded and not to be isolated, which is the temptation when you start having those struggles, like you feel guilty or you feel terrible, or it's just like a huge burden to bear,
Yeah.
Actually, I feel like as a mom is the first time the mom guilt that I felt was like one of the heartfelt need for the gospel. Like I've always been a good person, right? I mean, if we think about sin, I'm not a bad person. I know I'm a sinner, but when the anger and the yelling with my kids, I thought, wow, even with someone like you love the most, just like you said. And then I said, wow, that's really ugly. Like Leslie was saying, now I realize I'm really a sinner. Okay, before I knew I was a sinner in the general way, but I really see that ugliness. And then the gospel, I'm saying, oh, I really need Jesus. Before it's like, yeah, I need Jesus, but I can kind of do it on my own, Now, then I really felt like, man, the blood of Christ that died for my sin is so beautiful because I never felt so ugly because I didn't know that these things can come out of my mouth, right? Until kids pushed you that far.
Yeah.